Productivity can feel like such an icky word. Like even when sort of writing out my notes for this episode and doing research and figuring out what I wanted to say, it can feel like the word productivity can feel so icky because you think, but I'm not on planet Earth to maximize, optimize, make every minute of every day as productive as possible. So I thought maybe actually that's the reason why I need to do the episode, because productivity can mean a million different things. Like rest is productive, taking care of yourself is productive, slowing down is productive. And so even though the word productivity can feel icky, it's still very important that we talk about it today. So I run 2 very successful businesses. I also lead a life that I just bloomin' love. You know, I still find time to prioritize my partner, my friends, my family. I go to the gym pretty much every single day. I still eat healthy food. And I feel like I've just got it right in terms of time management. Now, and I don't say that to like brag. Obviously, I'm not perfect. I've not got everything right. But I think when it comes to time management, it's been a real journey over the years. I think I thought the wrong things about productivity. I was very much part of like the hustle bro camp for a long time and have done a whole 180, 360, whatever you want to call it, on that. And so it's important that I talk to you about productivity today. And before we get into this episode, the biggest disclaimer that I'm going to give is we don't all have the same 24 hours in a day. Like technically, of course we do, but some people have childcare responsibilities, some people have caregiver responsibilities, some people are managing grief, mental health issues, depression. We're working different work schedules. Some people are working night shifts, some people are just working the 9 to 5 like me. And so our 24 hours are very different dependent on where you are and what you're doing. That being said, I'm not going to kind of negate the things I'm going to give you in this episode. They still are really important and I think can apply to everyone. So what I am going to assume throughout this episode, and I want you to apply this to your life in whatever way works best for you. I am going to assume we all work a 9 to 5 and we work 7 hours a day in those 9 to 5s. The reason I'm going to assume that is just because I can't be making those disclaimers over every single point that I'm about to say. So some of these will be harder for certain people. Some of these will be easier for certain people. Some of these will just need to be molded to reflect, you know, that different type of work that you might do. But I'm just going to, for the sake of this episode, talk about productivity inside those 35 hours we have at work. And the reason I want to talk about those is because that's where I think we can have the most impact in making the rest of our living life, you know, better, productive, more wholesome, more like family, friend orientated, whatever your version of like wholesome and happy life is. So here's my 4 biggest productivity hacks. These are the anti-burnout edition. This has probably been my favorite episode to plan and scope out because I've gone into like some of the real nitty gritty around my life and work and the way that I plan it. And I think you'll probably find it's quite different to a lot of business owners, a lot of business leaders, in that work is not my biggest priority. It really isn't. It's, you know, probably a good few down in my priority list. And so the way that I view productivity, the way that I see productivity now is how do I optimize my time within work to make sure that outside of work, I can be as stress-free, as like fun-loving, caring, nurturing to family, friends, partner as I possibly can be, so that I can close my laptop at 4 or 5 p.m. on a Friday. And if I want to, I can have a relaxing weekend. I can walk, I can be in nature, I can do whatever I want to do. I don't feel anxious about work. That's my version of productivity, is like making these decisions that allow me outside of that kind of worky, productive stuff to be who I want to be the best version of myself, to be free, to feel flexible, etc. And if that's the way that you want to be productive too, then this episode is for you. So here's my 4 biggest productivity hacks. These are the anti-burnout edition. And by the way, before I get into this, it is so valuable for you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and review everything within this podcast. It really helps. Like I cannot tell you how much it helps us with things like algorithms, pushing it out to more people. It can be tough to get a new podcast off the ground, but the reception so far has been amazing. And I just would love it if you could review, comment, even just like absolutely anything, share it with a friend. All of it really does help. So productivity hack number 1 is a word you need to get so much more comfortable with, and that I have been on a 10-year journey, 20-year journey probably with, is the word no. You can invest in the next big like productivity tool, planner, time blocking framework, blah, blah, blah. None of it will work. Literally none of it will work if you have not learned how to say no. And I think we tend to assume that by saying no, we're going to upset people, we're going to piss people off. I guarantee the better you get at saying no, the more you value your own time, people start to respect your time more because they know that when they are with you, when they do get the time with you, if you're saying no to the things you don't want to do, it means that you are saying yes to the things you do want to do and you can spend more quality time. And yes, obviously this goes to meetings. Like if you are in back-to-back meetings every day, obviously that is tragic and so frustrating. And it means you don't get to spend that time doing the working on work, the really important on work. But something that can just be really like silently, quietly, quite detrimental is the shorter stuff. So you know the kind of meetings where, let's say you're like, okay, I want to time block my day to have a really productive day. I'm going to do some of the working on the team work, the leadership work, you know, the systematic work, the big project work. So I'm going to keep my day free today. And then someone just goes, can I just grab half an hour with you at 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. or 10:30, whatever. All of a sudden, that is your entire morning thrown off because you're going to get into work in the morning and instead of hitting the ground running and going, right, 9 a.m., let's get the coffee down, let's get hitting that project, you're going to look at your calendar and go, okay, I've got a meeting at 10:30, so I can't really, that's only about 90 minutes, maybe like 65 minutes after we've, I don't know, got a coffee, answered our emails or whatever. So I can't get stuck into anything big now. And then you finish the meeting, it's 11 a.m. and it's almost lunchtime. You're like, oh, I've got lunch in an hour. So I know what I'll do. I'll just do these tick box things. I'll pull together this thing for this client here, and then I'll start that project work after lunch. Can you see how, and then you maybe get to 2 p.m. after lunch and you're like, oh, I'm just a bit tired now. Like my day's been a bit stressful. You know, I've been answering all these questions. I've been pulled in a million different directions. So just by having 30-minute, can I quickly grab your brain? Can I pick your brain? Can we have a quick catch up on this thing? Can take away an entire day. And the reason that can be so dismantling to your, like, I guess, mental health, like to your burnout, to your life, to your burnout, but like to how close you could get to burnout, is add that up. Imagine if that was just to happen 2 days a week, 3 days a week. You start to just knock on all these projects. I'll do it next week. I'll do it next week. Then when it's urgent and the thing is due, or like let's say, for example, you were meaning to give your team a bit of important feedback. You might not give it in the moment because you're like, oh, I'm a bit tired today, or I've got this quick tick to do, or I've got this meeting to have. So you push it back. You push it back by a week, and then you push it back by another week, and then you don't end up having it. You don't end up doing the thing. And then next month, it becomes urgent. Then it's a fire that you've got to put out. And so just by saying no to that 30-minute meeting, that quick tick, you know, can I just grab your time? Just by saying no there and then, I know you might think in the moment you feel like you're unhelpful, you feel like you're not being a villager, you're not helping that person. You actually are saying yes to having a full day of a really productive, ticking off your to-do list, doing the working on the work. You're buying back your time in the future. Like you can go home feeling accomplished, feeling happy, feeling like you've really progressed today. Do you see what I mean? Like those small no's, they add up, they build and they build and they build. So if you were coming into this episode kind of like expecting me to give you some big, you know, I time block or do this, we're going to get into a little bit of that. But the biggest thing you can take away from today is start saying no so much more. Time is your only finite resource. It's the only thing you can't get back. You can technically make more money. You can technically get more people. You can technically have more friends. You can technically get another job. Time, you can never get it back. Once it's gone, once that day is gone, that day is gone forever. It's never coming back ever again. So be so precious and so cautious over your time. This takes me on to point 2, which is you need to think about time as though you can buy it back. And this is essentially an investment. So you want to invest your time well. If you think about what a traditional investment is, like thinking in money, it's paying for something now that's going to be worth more in the future. So you buy something for £10, whether it's a stock or a share, whether it's a handbag, whatever. You invest in it now, and in 10 years' time, it's potentially worth like 10x what it is today. This is how I want you to think about your time. How are we buying back more of our time with the time we're using right now? What on earth am I talking about? So what I mean is, let's talk about some very traditional like management conundrums we find ourselves in. Delegating, okay? When we delegate a task, the amount of times I have either said to myself or heard other managers say, it'll just be quicker if I do it myself. It'll just be quick. Oh, it's just quicker. They messed it up before. They're not very good at it. I don't want to risk it not being done well. I can't be bothered to coach them in it. So I'm just going to do the thing. I'm just going to do the task. You are essentially you're chucking your money away. You're chucking your time away, because although yes, that task is urgent and it's been done in the moment and it's been done to your standard, there is no buyback of time in the future. So when that thing happens again next month, and then the month after that, and then the week after that, you're the only one who can do it. You're the bottleneck. And now it's even worse because it's got a bit awkward because you've been doing it. So it feels harder to delegate. Whereas if you flip that and try to buy back your time, try to invest your time better, you would say, okay, I know it's probably going to take me about 20 minutes to properly delegate this thing to my team member. And when I say properly, I mean explain the context, explain the why to them, give them autonomy over the outcome, ask them what a good deadline is, be there to coach them if they need more support, allow them to make mistakes and then help coach them through those mistakes. All of that takes a bit of time. But what you're thinking about is the next 12 months of your career, and how now that you have taken the proper time and you've invested that time to delegate that thing properly, that person forevermore will be able to take this thing away from you. Do you see what I mean? Another example of buying back time is having difficult conversations, is just making sure that we never ignore a difficult conversation, because it just gets worse. It gets harder to deal with. And it might not take up more time in terms of like you having to have more conversations, but it takes up more mental space. It takes up more cultural space inside the team when everyone's dealing with this negative energy or this person who shouldn't really be in the team because you've not dealt with it. And now all of a sudden it's a big thing that is reducing everyone's productivity and everyone's like how they feel about work by like 10, 20%, has this huge knock-on impact just because you made a bad investment of your time 1 month, 2 months ago. And so it kind of goes back to that age-old, is it an analogy or whatever? Age-old phrase of like, buy cheap, buy twice. If we buy cheap, we avoid the difficult conversation. If we buy cheap, we do the task so it'll be quicker ourselves. But we buy it twice, we have to buy it again. It won't just go away. It will come up again in the future and you're going to have to pay for that thing again with your own time or with someone else's time. And so really think about your time as like the most important resource investment you will ever manage and ever deal with. I said no last month to more things than I have ever said no to in my entire life. And it blooming hurts sometimes. I got invited to, I'll have to name drop it here because then it'll make me feel better about not doing it. But I got invited to a party at Google HQ, which was Google's like team summer party with some of the like big C-suite people at Google, to go to their London HQ, rooftop barbecue, DJs, the coolest thing in the world, right? For Google to showcase new products. I just know it's not a good use of my time. As much as it sounds brilliant, as much as there'll be some great people there for me to like network with, whatever, it's just not a good use of my time. And I could try and convince myself it is, but getting a train down to London, staying overnight, it's a whole like 24 hours. That 24 hours I could be working with my team to build some brilliant innovation inside Custard. Like we could be building out a new feature. We could be creating more content to help our audience. Like, is it really helpful for me to go and have a few drinks on Google's rooftop? I don't think so. Things like South by Southwest, the festival, I got invited to go there. Amazing, again, full of incredible humans speaking on panels. Like, it's great to just be seen there and take photos there. But again, it's like nearly a whole week out of my life. And I get invited to these things and it's so hard to say no. Like, trust me, they are some of the hardest no's I've ever knowed. Yet I just know that when the time comes for those things to be happening, I'm going to be annoyed at myself that I said yes. And so trust me, if someone has got like, just invest, say no and invest your time. This is where we're at. Then the third productivity hack, and this is one I learned a while ago called the Eisenhower Matrix. So this, I guess technically is like one of the productivity hack tool things that you hear about. But this is the only one that's ever like stuck with me and been important, which is tasks will fall into 4 camps. But for all intents and purposes, to simplify it, they will either be urgent or important. Now, an urgent task is the stuff that we tend to just fall into all the time. It's things like doing our emails, ticking off whatever like short, quick tick to-do lists you've got to do, replying to our team on Slack, responding to clients. It's basically like that things you have to keep up with every single day within the business. Then you've got important. Important is the stuff that it isn't urgent right now. Like, if you don't do it today, no one's going to come knocking to say, why hasn't this thing been done? Urgent is like the bigger project work. But the problem with important is, if you don't force it to be urgent, it will just get more and more urgent, and it will get more urgent to the point where eventually it's going to stress you out because you've been meaning to do this project for so long. You've never forced out the time to do it. And now you go on holiday next week and it's due. And so it's Friday at 4 p.m. and you've still got 6 hours of work to do. You lose your weekend. You're stressed. You're anxious. You're starting to feel those feelings of burnout because we've been prioritizing the urgent things all the time. Now, people usually say to me here, like, but you've got to do the urgent thing. You know, I've got to answer my emails. I've got to go to the meetings. I've got to do the quick tick tasks. So what I always say about the urgent, of course, we're always going to be there. Like, we're never going to be able to fully remove ourselves from those quick ticks. How can we? So your urgent tasks are things that you should be constantly looking at to think, how can I delegate? How can I automate? How can I systemize? Or how can I just get rid of or do less of? So like inbox, for example, I guarantee you do not need to spend as much time in your inbox as you think you do. When you respond to an email, people just reply back. I always say this to the team and I'm like, I'll get maybe once every like 4 months, I'll have an amazing thing where I managed to get my entire inbox down to 0 and I'm so proud of myself. I'm like, whoa, we've done it. Then give it an hour and I'll have 17 emails again. Because your inbox is just a list of someone else's priorities. Like, they are not your priorities. It's just someone waiting for you to get some information to them. And this is when we risk becoming the type of manager who's just like I think they call it like a pedal pusher. You're just moving information around. Those type of managers are the type, and sorry to be a bit fearmongery here, they will get made redundant by AI eventually. Like, if you're just moving information around, that's the layer that doesn't matter anymore. It's going to get less and less important. You need to be part of the layer, the valuable layer, where you are improving, you're systemizing, you're working on innovating and experimenting. And, you know, you've got your KPIs, whatever they may be. How do we test out new things with the team? And you know what these are. They've been on your to-do list forever. I don't need to tell you what they are. You have to force, I'm going to use that word, force out the time to move away from the urgent and into the important. Even if it's just like, I don't know, blocking out a full day to do it. And you say to yourself, right, from the hours of 9 till 12, I'm deleting Slack. I'm getting rid of Teams, turning off all notifications, which you should have off, by the way, guys, because notifications just steal your focus away. I have no notifications, nothing. I have like 3 people on my phone that I allow through for notifications, which is literally my partner and my parents. That's it. No one else is getting a reply from me. And do you know what's crazy? People still think I'm like a fast responder, like a fast replier. I have no notifications on because you will still look at them. Trust me, you won't miss anything. I guarantee, even if you don't look at your phone for 2 hours, which like who does that? If you don't look at your phone for hours on end, amazing, go you. But we all just do. So it's like, turn off notifications. You don't need your emails pinging up in the corner of your laptop while you're working. It's just going to distract you because you see it and you think, oh, I can just quickly reply to that. I can tick it off my list quickly. And it's safe. It's like this dopamine hit of urgency. You don't need to like carve out an hour at the end of every day to do the quick tick stuff, quickly respond to everyone on email, get them the information that they need, delegate some stuff, automate some stuff. Other than that, spend as much time as possible in that important category. Okay, for your 4th hack, I'm going to expose your calendar. I'm going to expose you a little bit. So I want you to go and take a look at your calendar. Don't do it if you're driving or if you are. In fact, don't do it right now, but write this down. I want you to go and look at your calendar. When you look at that calendar, I want you to think, if someone had like a gun to your head right now and said, you have to reduce 50% of these meetings. So you've either got to get them down by half or remove them, cancel them completely. Which ones would you cancel? Don't do it yet. This is just an audit for now. Which ones would it be? Maybe write them down, like have a bit of a list for yourself on a piece of paper. When you look at your calendar, which ones aren't really that crucial or you could get down to 15 minutes? What are they? And then I need you to go and do it. Like, I need you to start making a routine of every Friday. Sometimes I do this on a Sunday, but if you don't want to work on a Sunday, then do it on a Friday. Sometimes I do this on a Friday on a Sunday, but do it on a Friday, whereby you look at your calendar for the next week and you just play a game. I used to do this at Sage a lot, and I think it used to piss a lot of people off, but I don't care. How many meetings can I cancel? How many can I cancel? Honestly, generally, people actually are glad because they get their time back too. And don't push it out to the next week. That just pushes it down the line. That just means you're spending more time thinking about the thing. Remove. Say to someone, if you don't use Loom, by the way, Loom is a really great Chrome extension that we use where you can screen record. So you can generally if you want to show someone something, you can be like, let me just send you a screen recording and then you can just come back to the screen recording. So using tools like that, like Loom's really great. Try to avoid meetings at all costs. Just do this audit. I'm going to call it the 4 p.m. Friday audit. Cancel. And don't make up bullshit excuses. This is what people fall into the trap of. Like, don't then go back to those people and be like, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. I'm a bit, being overwhelmed is not a bullshit excuse, but I mean, people tend to like fluff it up a bit, you know what I mean? And they'll be like, sorry, but I've got too much on next week. Can we move it to another time? Or, make up a lie about the project not being whatever. Just be so transparent and direct with that person. I don't even think you need an apology. Like, just say, hey, just letting you know, my priorities for next week are here, here, and here. I'm going to send over a Loom video instead of doing this meeting because I think I can save us both half an hour. Then if you just come back to me, and if we still need a meeting after that, we can discuss and decide that together. And it's like, by cancelling a meeting, I think you need to realize you're actually the unsung hero. No one wants more meetings. There's no one out there that wants more meetings. So it's like, if someone messages me to say they're cancelling a meeting, I'm buzzing. I'm like, great, I've got half an hour or an hour back of my day. And it's like, take control. I think that's what I'm trying to say. You can build respect by taking control of being the one who's like, I am not going to put up with this crappy meeting culture anymore. My mum was telling me about something brilliant she did in her team the other week. So she runs a furniture e-commerce business, and they have actually restricted their meeting time to 9 hours a week. So everyone in the team, they work 35 hours a week. They're only allowed 9 hours of meetings in any given week. And so think about it like that. Like, what is your upper limit? 9 hours, let's say. How do we get it down to 9? Be ruthless. You can cancel meetings to your boss. I promise your boss will respect you more if you value your own time enough to cancel their precious meeting. Because burnout, guys, is quite often caused, and I've felt burnout, by the way. I don't think I've quite gone over the precipice of having burnout. But I remember back it was May 2024. I didn't have any team inside the business. It was just me. I just got back from traveling, and it was the first month that I was properly getting the systems of the business set up. And we were launching Fresh Start. I was launching Fresh Start, I should say, for the very first time. So I'd filmed Fresh Start is our 6-week bootcamp for new managers, which, by the way, we are opening up again in September. So if you want to join, we've not opened it up in over 7 months, I think it will be. It's just incredible. So I'll put the link to join the waitlist below. I would love you to be one of the 150 cohort in September. But when I was launching Fresh Start for the very first time, I was filming the video modules, figuring out how on earth to even set up a course platform, how to build a community, how to make it as powerful as possible, as impactful as possible, because courses can be a bit shit. And I wanted to make sure that it was actually stuff that people could implement and that they felt challenged by and they could go put in place day to day and would actually have this real impact. And I put so much pressure on myself to make it amazing from day one. And I remember it was the week leading up to our first ever launch. I was just on death's door. I couldn't sleep. I was riddled with, I don't think it was anxiety. I think it was just such high cortisol from the stress levels. And I was fearful around, what if no one wants to buy it? What if I've completely missed the mark? What if this is crap? What if I've done it wrong? And, everything. And at the time I was just doing so much. I was also working with clients, doing workshops, doing coaching. I was just doing so much. I was probably working 12, 14-hour days, 7 days a week. And I was kind of flirting, let's say, with burnout. I was very close to that precipice of this is far too much now. We've gone off the cliff. And I believe the reason that I caused that for myself was caring about the wrong things. I put so much control freak energy, and this is just me personally, on making sure that my inbox was always at 0, making sure that every single client got a response within 1 hour, making sure that I don't know, just so many things that was that urgent work that actually, if I'd have just said to myself, you know what, today I'm just focused on creating. Tomorrow I'll do the more urgent stuff and make sure everyone's responded to. And I feel like it was this, I was focusing on the work about the work, like the meetings I was having with people, like all the different things that I'm not sure were actually that helpful. And I'm convinced that in me, that burnout was really caused by me focusing on the wrong things instead of the things that are like buying me my own time back in the long run. And I had a good friend at the time who was running a business, and I was working with her, and she'd ended up in hospital because of stress and burnout. And it's like, it is such an important topic and issue that we address. And I think we have to get so good at using that no, because as much as I would love workplaces and businesses to take ownership over burnout and stuff in people, ultimately we have to take personal ownership over it ourselves. And so, yes, we'll keep pushing for the workplaces to do it, but just from a personal stance, like, we have to make sure that, we are saying no, that we are pushing back on the things that are urgent and not important. So to conclude, productivity, like the real big productivity hack, is not to like squeeze as much as possible into your day to be as efficient as the highest output, blah, blah, blah. It's to delete, decline, push back on as much as humanly possible that doesn't move the needle. And I think as well, let's talk about what the needle is. Make sure that you know what your North Star is. You know what your success measures are. You know what moves the needle in your job, because then you know how to focus on it. And just delete, decline, say no to all those things that aren't moving that needle, like going to the Google party. Google, I would have loved to go, but it's not going to move the needle for me. I could make a small argument that it might with that networking, but I know it isn't deep down. And so I've got to say no. And that's how I kind of buy back that evening now. I get to spend that evening with my partner. I get to spend that evening chatting to my best friend on the phone. Like, I get to continue to nurture the relationships that mean things to me. I get to have my 8 hours sleep because I'm not up and down on a train 2 days. I get to keep, realistically going down to London for one trip is 500 quid out of the business, at least, because it's a train, it's a hotel, it's food, it's whatever. And it's like that money, we're a bootstrapped, Custard is a bootstrap business. Think what I could spend that 500 quid on inside Custard. Like, I could spend it on so many more powerful things that would help grow the business. And so it's also just thinking about that opportunity cost. Like, every single yes comes with a no to something else, and just be so aware. You can't just say yes to everything. We have to be so aware at what we're saying no to, and what are the right no's, what are the right yeses. Thank you for tuning in for another week of The Boardroom. This is the podcast where we open the doors on all the conversations that, historically have been hidden away in the boardrooms across the globe, kept deep in those vaults, the information that we never really get access to. So thank you for listening. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back 8 o'clock again next Wednesday morning. Make sure you are subscribing, liking, commenting, and drop any feedback you've got in the comments of the post.